So 2 weeks ago, I made a post on Twitter asking people to show me their Fursonas, and what I'd do is I'd categorize them based on their physical appearance. And it got me thinking, instead of doing like a hotness tier list or something like that, I thought I'd do something a little bit different. And this time I'd be categorizing people based on what film character role I think they'd play, based on physical appearance alone. So I hope you guys enjoy. So to keep this simple, what I've done is I've split the categories into 4 main roles. I've got the antagonist, which is like the villain of the story. This category also includes like perhaps villains that have got like a good point. We've got the protagonist of the story, so that's like the hero. And this is like essentially just the switch of the villain. We've also got the love interest, so the kind of cutesy characters that like perhaps are going to woo the main character over. And finally we have the hero companion, and so this would be what some people would call a sidekick, but I don't call it a sidekick because these characters are definitely not side characters, and they're just as important as like the protagonist. Because if you look at stuff like say like Lord of the Rings, everyone thinks of Sam Gamgee, because they're the best and Frodo's the worst. So like, I don't want anybody to think if I put your Sona into the hero companion that means that like I think that you're unimportant, because it's actually the opposite. You are very important. So for the Jew, who's our first one? So starting off with Greenland was a bit of a struggle because I feel like they could have fit so many different categories, like the antagonist and the protagonist. But I feel for this one, I have to put them in on the hero companion, because simply based on their little snaky boy, I can imagine them being this kind of like happy-go-lucky, loving everything kind of story. And like, could you imagine like they've got the character, they're following the character, and like I could just imagine them going yay, just like with nature and stuff. That's just the vibe I get from Greenland, and I think that they would make such a great companion, because like you can imagine like everyone's down, they've just lost a battle or something, and Greenland being that like ray of sunshine in the middle. That's why I feel like they would be a hero companion. Okay, on to Rakuten, which I actually like. I feel like this one was a fairly easy one, because I would 100% put them as a hero protagonist. Like, maybe it's something to do with the staff that they've got, and like the chain and the coolness and the awesome hair, but it just screams protagonist to me. Because imagine them like going on like a pilgrimage and like doing this massive big adventure, where they're freeing a city or something. That's 100% the vibe I get, and I get this kind of confident air around them. So I could not choose anything else but the protagonist for this one. So yeah, I just love it. Because again, I can imagine them being like this kind of happy-go-lucky. If anybody's played Final Fantasy X, it'd be like almost like a Tidus character. This kind of confident and this like kind of almost like happy-go-lucky character. So that's what I get from Rakuten. So Drake Blaze, Drake was another interesting one, because I felt like they could have fit like 3 categories as well, because I feel like they could have been the antagonist, they could have been a protagonist, or they could have been the love interest. And it feels weird saying that, but like I think from the look we've got alone, I've got to say that I think I'd put them in the protagonist again. Again, like, I get this big kind of strong vibe from them, and it might just be because they are a dragon, but I don't know, I get that vibe, I get that kind of confidence from the character. And I almost imagine them to be like, they're gonna hate me for saying this, but I imagine them being like, almost like the jock kind of main character. This kind of like, yeah, big, strong, and tough, and yeah. And again, feel free to correct me in the comments. But honestly, I think Drake would make such a good character, and like you could 100%. I feel like you could pair up Drake with Greenland, because I can imagine like the scaly squads, like defeating evil in the land. Maybe that's just me though. Maybe that's just me. Comment down below if you feel like you disagree with me. So next up we have Drip the deer, and the moment Drip said I could use their Sona on this video, I knew the exact category I was going to put them in. And it might just be because they're deer, but that category has got to be the love interest. And I know I can almost sense Drip the deer right now screaming into their hooves, but like 100%, like you can imagine Drip's character being this kind of cutesy, this kind of like almost like intelligent, witty kind of love interest for the main character. And you just want to, you've got this like face that you just want to protect from all the evils in the world. You just want to smoosh their wee face. So I am sorry, Drip, but you are the first love interest on this list. Okay, so next up we have Ferret Magic, and Ferret's got such a great Sona. I love their magic aspect to themselves, which creates such a unique twist onto the Sona. But in terms of what category, like I was actually going to have a fifth category, which was going to be like the wise ones, which was going to be like the educators of like the main characters, and I think Ferret would have fit so well with that one. But in terms of this one, I've got to say, you're going to be the first antagonist of this list. Like, I know they've got this cutesy look, but I can imagine Ferret being this twist villain in the middle. Like, you know, one of the characters, it's like, oh, they've been with the group the whole time, and then they're like, they start taking over like the orb of evil, something like that. I can imagine just by Ferret's look, I can imagine that could be something that happens. I want to reiterate, this is not the person. Ferret's an absolute lovely being. This is simply by looks alone. and this image in particular, I love this image. But yeah, I would 100% say that Ferret would be the first antagonist on the list. Next up we have Gnomish Champion, which I love Gnomish's look. I love their little hat, I love their wee jacket, and this is another Sona where I would absolutely cuddle so much. I just love the whole look and how adorable they are. And this one was another kind of difficult one. I was kind of split between two, but for this one, I think I'm gonna go for the hero companion. And I don't know if it's because I get this kind of Dr. Watson kind of intelligent vibe, but again, I can imagine Gnomish to be this like almost like you've got like the main characters going around, and I feel like Gnomish would be the hero companion that's like keeping them right, keeping them on the straight and narrow kind of thing, more like the by the book kind of character, you know, that kind of stuff. And I absolutely love that. They not only would they look like they'd be such a great cuddle, but they'd also keep you in the straight and narrow. So that's why I'm going to say Gnomish Champion, hero companion. So next one, we've got Himbo Bangings, and Himbo's Sona is freaking adorable. I love they've got like the little blip, and they've got the big old ears. I love the hair. I'm a sucker for purple. But for this list, it's gotta be another antagonist. Like, you can imagine being this like almost like 80s style, you got this like 80s 90s kind of punk rock kind of villain, like rock and roll, like kind of kind of just like anarchy kind of antagonist. So unlike Ferret, which would be like a twist, I feel like Himbo would be like the villain from the start, just wanting chaos and causing anarchy in the world. And that's my reasoning behind the antagonist. Next up we have I am Barnaby Bear, and Barnaby's soda is actually really adorable. They sent over a few images. Every single one of them, it's another one where it's like every single one of the images, I was like, this could be any of them. But for the image I'm using here, oh, it's difficult. This one's one that I wasn't quite sure of, but I'm gonna put another protagonist, because I feel like Barnaby Bear, like, they've got that confident look around them. I can imagine them being like almost like a crafter. So I don't think they'd be like a warrior kind of protagonist, but I think they'd be like more like a crafter. And I can imagine like set in medieval times, they'd be like creating great devices to get them through events. So I think they'd be a really smart protagonist. Yeah. But yeah, again, if anybody disagrees with any of my choices, pop them down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear where I went wrong. Next up we have Icy Eclipse. And this one is another one where the moment I saw Icy's Sona, I knew the exact one I'd put them in. And that one is the villain. I feel like I was surprised because I actually thought I'd have more love interest by now. But I feel like Icy, I can imagine him, again, getting this kind of vibe of ice and this kind of like the iced queen. Like I can imagine him being like very sassy and very elegant and very like being able to like freeze everybody in their place. I love that. So I imagine them to be quite intelligent, quite cunning and stuff. So yeah, it actually surprised me that I chose this one. But like I would put Icy as the antagonist. Okay, next one we have Kakali, which is a Sergal. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that wrong, but Kakali, I'm pretty sure I'm messing up all the names. But for this one, I was struck between a couple of them. But I think I'm stuck between two, which would be the love interest or the hero companion. I'm still thinking about it. I can imagine being the hero companion. I feel like they'd be a little bit similar to Greenland, in the way they're just like this kind of mad. They're like pretty insane, but like they're also got like they'd be this happy-go-lucky like woo-hoo-hoo kind of character. And imagine them just to be a little bit like how I said about Himbo Baggins, a little bit chaotic, but for this one it'd be like more supportive chaotic, like this kind of like, you know, the part of the story where people are like struggling, like can't figure out a riddle or something, and I feel like Kakali would be the kind of character that would say something random that triggers a memory, like this kind of unhidden knowledge that comes from their chaos. So that was a really weird way of saying it, but that's the vibe I get from the Sona alone. Next up we have King Panda, and despite the fact that red pandas are generally quite small and not very dangerous, I would 100%, this is another one that I was so sure of, I feel like I would 100% put King in the protagonist. Like, I can imagine just looking at that face, that confident face, that just like, I can imagine him just having this like, bravery, I will go in this cave with this big dragon. Sorry, Drake. I will defeat this evil dragon. You know what I mean? Like I get that vibe from it, from the Sona alone. And it's also something to do with sweater. I don't know. I feel like the sweater screams like almost like dad protagonist. Perhaps like I don't want to say experience because that sounds like I'm calling King old, but no, like I can imagine being like a mature protagonist, like a knight kind of thing. Oh, how many people have I insulted so far? Okay, so Kitty Cat Laz was another one that Laz sent over 2 images, and both of them I'm like there'd be completely different categories. But for the one I'm using, they just look so cool, and I would 100% put them up in the antagonist. Like, out of all of them, like everyone, I could 100% imagine Kitty Cat Laz to join forces with Himbo Baggins. Again, maybe it's because the guitar, maybe it's because Laz does like music and stuff. But like, could you imagine? Like, I'll move them across. Like, oh, maybe not. There you go. You can imagine these two being like a partnership and like causing anarchy in the world through the power of music, man. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. I absolutely love that. But like, that's 100% the vibe I get. I feel like they'd be like a punk rock kind of heavy metal like antagonist. Okay, so next up we have Lakazik. And Lakazik's got such a adorable soda, but I couldn't think of which one I wanted for this one. I was split between the protagonist and love interest for this one. Like, I mean, you can't look at this face and go villain or hero companion, I don't think. And I don't know, I think just because they're adorable and you've got like the muscular physique, let's say, for this one, I'm gonna put in love interest. I'm so sorry, Lakazik. I feel like they're gonna scream at this, but like they're absolutely adorable. You can imagine being like the protagonist just gone through this big war field and like they're fought and they got injured. They get sent to the local hospital, and here comes the handsome lion to come and wound all your woes. Like 100%, Lakazik would be. Actually, no. The moment I think of it, love interest 100%. Like I just get that vibe from Lakazik. And again, maybe it's just because they're wearing the medical uniform and stuff, but still. That's my reasoning behind it, okay? Judge me in the comments. Okay, next up we have Lunar Buho. And Luna's another one where I wasn't entirely sure. Because they've got a couple ones where I'm like, I can imagine them being a couple of these. But I'm gonna say protagonist. I'm gonna say I can imagine Luna being a protagonist. But they're gonna hate me as well. But I think they're gonna be a bit like Drake, where it's like a kind of strong, kind of like jock-styled protagonist. I'm trying to think who would I pair them with in this one. I can imagine them being paired with Gnomish Champion. In terms of, I just imagine like Gnomish would be like, hold up there, Luna. Do you really want to do this kind of thing? So I can imagine Luna being the chaos, being like the chaotic, like action first, think later kind of character, just from this look alone. But yeah, please don't hate me too much, Luna. Next up we have Malt Whiskey, and this is the one where I remember when Malt sent us over, and I was like, this will be interesting. This will be interesting on the video. But I think with Malt, I kind of have to put them in with the love interest. I mean, I feel like in my head that would be the obvious one to put them in, because you can imagine like the character goes into a bar and they look down the bar and there is malt whiskey just waiting for them, just waiting to be drank. I don't know, but like I can imagine it. They've got this kind of like sassy look, but I feel like they'd be also like pretty kick-ass at the side. So like they'd be one of those like love interests that's like they'd be there at the bar, but like if anybody steps out of order, they'd like kick their ass. You know what I mean? So that's 100% the vibe I get from Malt. Maybe it's the Hooters t-shirt, maybe it's the Hooters, but still, that's my reasoning behind it. So next one we have is Cyrus Crafter, and this is another one where I'm split between two categories. One being the protagonist hero, because I can imagine them being this coming of age kind of character where they start off maybe a little bit shy, and through obstacles they build up and get stronger and stronger. But the other one, and the one I think I'm gonna go with, is the hero companion. Like, again, you can imagine I just imagine Cyrus to be this kind of cheery, kind of like when everyone's down, Cyrus will come up with something that's positive and lovely and uplifting, and you just see it coming out of that mouth. You can imagine it being absolutely just something cutesy, something innocent. So yeah, I imagine Cyrus to be positive and this kind of innocent hero companion. Next up we have Phyrexia Hive, which I'm sure I have brutalized, but for Hive, this one was, I felt like this was another easy one. By just the looks alone, I imagine them to be like a villain, because you've got this kind of overwhelming power, and again you've got this kind of Egyptian kind of, you got the Egyptian theme. So you've got this kind of almost like the power of the gods, and you can imagine them like standing over you as you like cower in fear. No, let's not go into my imagination here. But no, like with Hive, I think it's a great character, and I imagine them just to be this like almost like spiritual evil, and I can actually maybe even imagine them pairing up with Ferret Magic. Because you've got like perhaps like it's like the orb of like an Egyptian story, and like Ferret uses it. You know what I mean? Like I can imagine them pairing together. And actually thinking about it, I can imagine Coop Raccoon to be like the protagonist against Hive. We might be writing a story here. So I think Coop Raccoon could be like a protagonist against Hive here. Okay, next one is Reginald Whiskersworth, and I remember when I got this image on Twitter, it took me like a good 4 seconds to like really take in what I was seeing here. Reggie's got such a great Sona. I love the little kitty cat. But based on this image alone, for this image alone, I feel like villain or love interest, which I feel like is two very opposite things here. I'm gonna go with love interest here. It's the thigh-high socks that did it for me. I need to stop saying stuff like that, but it's the thigh-high socks that did it for me there, because it's the love interest, and you can imagine them just being this kind of like sassy, and again, kind of similar to Malt here. Like I can imagine both working at the same bar, and both being like I said, it's two people fighting in a bar, and I feel like Reggie and Malt would combine to like kick ass and like kick the crap out of everyone. So like that's the vibe I get, but then you also get they would 100% be a love interest, 100%. Next up we have Ricarly, and I actually really love this one because it's got this pixel art kind of feel to it. But I can't see. That's so difficult. But I'm gonna say hero companion actually, because I can imagine with Ricarly, that like they'd be this kind of big cuddler kind of character, and for some reason I imagine they'd be like 7 foot tall, like towering over everyone, and like just like see whenever like I don't know like an antagonist is trying to get away, imagine Ricarly would be the big kind of grabs them and like just cuddles them in. So due to the cuddle factor, I 100% think they'd be a hero companion. And also they got their widow eyebrows. I love that. They just look too cute to like cause any harm. And I feel like with the big paws, I don't think they'd be a protagonist, but I think they'd definitely be like a big cuddly hero companion that everybody needs. So next up we have Slam the Otter, which is again one of my favourite names of all time. I absolutely love the name of Slam. And they're kind of similar to Cyrus Crafter in the way that I feel like they'd be either a coming of age kind of hero where they overcome obstacles to fight the evil within and stuff like that. Or they'd be the hero companion. But it's difficult. It's really difficult for this one. But I'm actually gonna go for protagonist. I feel like I don't know what people will think about this one, but like I feel like Slam would be a protagonist, and I feel like the villain they would go up against would be like Icy Eclipse. And I feel like their companion would be. I feel like Kakali. Kakali would be like 100%. Kakali or Ricarly. I feel like they would be the companions for Slam. Because imagine like Slam would be like almost like the sensible kind of like trying to think things through. As Kakali would be like, yeah, let's go nuts. Or Ricarly would be the one that like does all like the heavy damage for, like the supportive for Slam. So that's my reasoning behind Slam being a protagonist. Next up we have Small Panda Bean, and this is actually the first time I'm seeing Small Panda Bean's Sona, and from looks alone, just from the blue eyes, I can actually imagine them to be the villain. I feel like they'd be like almost like a business for where like they're like the leader of like a mafia organization. I honestly feel like they're gonna hate me for this, but I can imagine them being like the leader of a mafia, and with this kind of almost like deadpan kind of facial expressions when they're making orders and stuff, and then with the hero at the end having a big fight. I imagine them to have to like they'd like take off their shirt, and they'd be like big and strong, and they'd be able to take on people. So I think that's my reasoning behind Small Panda Bean. In terms of protagonists against them, I would actually probably say Barnaby Bear. I'm gonna say Barnaby Bear for this one, because I feel like for like an intelligent kind of business fur kind of villain, I feel like Barnaby would have to be like crafting things to think around it. So I imagine that to be the villain. Next up we have Snack Station. Snack, again, I feel like when you see this the snake sonas, some people's first initial thoughts will be villain, but based on this image alone, oh, I'm gonna say hero companion. I don't know if this sounds like I'm doing a disservice to the Snake Nation, but like I feel like Snake would be this kind of supportive character, but I imagine they'd be super sarcastic with it. Like you can imagine like they'd roll their eyes at like the protagonist doing like, I don't know, like a dumb decision, and like they'd be like the voice of reason. They'd be kind of like Gnomish Champion here, where they'd be like this, almost like dude, are you sure you want to do that? Or like the character that's actually really quite smart, but like nobody's paying attention to you, like I told you this would happen kind of vibe. So I 100% think, based on looks alone, Snake Station would be the hero companion. Oh my goodness, how many people have I friended now? I think it's over 20. Next up we have the Blind Furry, which I have to admit, every time I look at the Blind Furry's Sona, it just inspires me. I love this Sona so much. I love the purple, I love the wings, I love everything about it. But like, in terms of what I'd have them in, it would be... I think I was split between hero companion and love interest. But you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna put them in as the love interest, because with Blind, I can imagine it being like almost like a film about like angels and demons kind of fighting off and stuff, and or maybe like even like an angel high school or something, and they'd just be like this kind of like the head turner character, and I 100% think they would really be a love interest. Which is again weird when I look at like all the other love interests. I feel like every single one of them is on that list for a different reason. But I think it's something to do with the wings, with the glasses, the cute look, the V sign with the fingers. I love it. I just think they would be a love interest. Alternatively, I feel like if they were to be a hero companion, I think if they were a hero companion, I'd probably pair them up with King Panda, because I feel like King would be, I don't know, I feel like they would be like such a good mix, a really awesome duo. But in terms of love interest, I do think I think that's the right decision. I'm sorry. So next up we have Vesper, and I absolutely love Vesper's design because they've got the big ears, and I'm a sucker for big ears. But I was again I wasn't entirely sure which one I wanted to put them in. Because I feel like I could have put them in the love interest, and that would actually nicely make everything equal. But I think for this one I'm gonna go for protagonist. Because I feel like they'd be one of those characters that they would go off on their like they'd come from like maybe a small kind of town, and perhaps it gets burnt down or somebody gets lost, and they go out searching for them. I 100% imagine them doing that, and I think that's what I've decided to do with it. I think they would be a protagonist, and I think they would be paired up with. I'm gonna say Osiris. I can imagine Osiris being this like the cutesy character. So Vespa would be like the kind of protagonist that they're determined. They're like, that's all they think about. And Osiris could be like the kind of backup where it's like, oh yeah, like just remember this and all that stuff. I can imagine like Osiris being the positive aspect to almost like, was it like Finding Dory style? I'm so sorry, Cyrus. I don't want this to seem like I'm dunking on here, but like it'd be like the Finding Dory kind of positivity, whereas Vespa would be like almost like Marlin, being like determined and very serious about what they're wanting to do. In terms of villain, I imagine they would be with I think the villain would be Ferret. I would say the villain of that story would be Ferret. Just because I can imagine a fight in the end. But yeah, that's my reasoning behind that one. So finally we have Zanino, and ever since I saw the Fursona, I knew exactly where I was going to put Zanino, and that is going to be the antagonist. And I feel like, I don't know whether or not it's because perhaps it's got the same kind of vibe as Ratigan, but I do feel like Zanino would be almost this like intelligent kind of, almost like Bane from like Batman kind of style villain, who's actually quite intelligent and very smart with how they do things. They know exactly where everything would be, and they know the deep tunnels around the town and city so they can escape. I can imagine them actually teaming up with Small Panda Bean and like the Mafia. Again, it may just be the suit and the hat and stuff, but I feel like they would 100% team up with Small Panda Bean. And in terms of who would be the protagonist against them, I feel like Slam would be perhaps a good protagonist against Zanino. I feel like they would be a good protagonist against them, but like I do feel like Zanino's just got that look, that strong kind of intelligent look kind of thing. So there you have it. Those are the movie character roles I believe people would play based on their physical appearance alone. Did I get any right? Did I get any wrong? Does everyone hate me? Please feel free to pop it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also want to give a massive thank you to everybody who posted their Fursona. I was honestly taken back by how many people posted, and it really means a lot to me because this was so much fun. More so that I would love to do this again, and I think over my Twitter channel I'm going to be doing I'm going to post a pinned comment. And for like every 15 Fursonas that get posted there, I'm going to do like another video like this. And honestly, it would mean so much to me. So if you've got like a friend who's got a Fursona, feel free to share this video with them. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. But if you ever want to have a chat with me, I'm over on my Twitch as well, if that's something you fancy as well. But more than anything else, guys, I hope you know that you mattered yesterday, you matter today, and you matter tomorrow. And I want to say thank you so much. Mwah!